Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, and thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Thursday, April 28th, 2016. Yes, it's getting warmer in beautiful South Florida. Nice clear skies. There's some clouds in the air, but it's not as obvious. But I can see the sun really hitting the pavement and the asphalt, getting a little shiny out there. You can see the mirage of water too around the grasses and so forth, the bushes. So, it's one of those things. But just kicking back, did a little job. Got to be back tonight. No stress, no problems. But it's one of those, hey, I said, what the hell, doing no show. And so I'm just going to do a couple things here, a few things. And, good and bad, I would say. Just some things to question and think about. So let's cut to the chase. Let's begin. And speaking of the paramedics, this one came from CaracasNews.com, which is Michael Snyder. He does stuff for like the End of America and the Economic Collapse blog. You should check his stuff out. He's very good and, very biblical inclined. However, it's just the information you should be focused on, not just his creed. Look at things at a bigger perspective. So he did one here on the UN rejects Israel's claim to the Golan Heights as top rabbis await the Messiah's imminent arrival. And it goes down right here. It says, the UN Security Council has unanimously rejected Israel's claim to sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And this is likely to cause tensions in the Middle East to rise even higher. On Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu boldly declared that the Golan Heights will remain under Israel's sovereignty permanently. After close to 50 years of over control, the Golan Heights, this shouldn't have been much of a shock. But the Arab world immediately went up in uproar, and the UN Security Council has taken action. It's a unanimous decision. The UN Security Council has announced that Israel's claims to the Golan Heights are null and void without international legal effect. Interesting here with this whole, like that one world order battle within itself, you know what I'm saying? So once again, the United Nations and the nation of Israel are directly at odds with one another because the truth is that Israel is never going to leave the Golan Heights as long as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in power. The following comes from CNN. Israel's Prime Minister has declared the Golan Heights will remain permanently under the country's control during Israel's first cabinet meeting held in the territory. The time has come for the international community to recognize reality, especially few basic facts, said Benjamin Netanyahu during a cabinet meeting Sunday. 1. Whatever is beyond the border, the boundary itself will not change. 2. After 50 years, the time has come for the international community to finally recognize that the Golan Heights will remain under Israel's sovereignty permanently. Glory, hallelujah, the chosen one has spoken. Asking Israel to give the Golan Heights back to Syria is a kind of like the United States give Texas back to Mexico. It isn't going to happen. But thanks in a large part to pressure of the Islamic world, the UN Security Council remains bound and determined to take that strategically important sliver of land away from Israel. On Tuesday, the UN Security Council expressed deep concern that the Israeli government is claiming permanent sovereignty over the Golan Heights. If you hear this music in the background, I have nothing to do with it whatsoever. Council members expressed their deep concern over recent Israeli statements about the Golan and stressed under the status of Golan remains unchanged. China's UN ambassador Luo Jie, president of the 15-Nation Security Council this month, told reporters after a closed-door meeting. He added that the Council resolution of 497 of 1981 made clear that Israel's decision at the time to impose its laws, jurisdictions, and administration in Golan was null and void without the international legal effect. Council statements are adopted by consensus, which means all its members, including Israel's ally, the United States, backed it. Of course, the Obama administration was definitely going to go along with the UN Security Council statement because it has consistently proven to be the most anti-Israeli administration in U.S. modern history. Late last year, there was a lot of talk about a potential UN Security Council resolution which would have permanently divided the land of Israel and the city of Jerusalem and that would have set the parameters for a Palestinian state. At that time, the Obama administration was not quite ready to pull the trigger. However, now that the end of Obama's second term is rapidly approaching, it appears that things have changed. There has been a lot of talk in the mainstream media about how such a resolution is now on the table, and members of Congress were so alarmed that 388 of them sent a letter to Obama urging him not to do this. The followings come from the Wall Street Journal. 700 Democratic and Republican lawmakers are urging the White House not to back any resolution at the United Nations that sets perimeters for Israeli-Palestinian talks, a move President Barack Obama has been considering. In a letter to President Obama, 388 members of the House, including Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi of California, said U.S. support for UN Security Council resolution would dangerously hinder the prospect of resuming direct negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. We are deeply troubled by reports that one-sided initiatives may arise at the UN in the coming months concerning the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the letter said. As you can see, even Nancy Pelosi is opposing Obama on this. But will that stop him? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, the top rabbis over in Israel are convinced that the arrival of the Messiah is imminent. Two extremely prominent figures in the Jewish faith recently got together for a very important conversation that this made headlines all over the world. And there's a lot of links on here too, so you can check it for yourself. Rabbi Moshe Sternbuch, vice president of the Rabbinical Court and the head of the Edah HaCharities in Jerusalem, paid a rare visit to Rabbi Chaim Kanevsky at his home in Bnei Barak. The two are the most prominent Torah figures alive today. Conversations between such great men have enormous significance, and the Hebrew language website Kikar Shabbat recorded the dialogue between these two great rabbis. Much of their conversation centered on expectations regarding the coming of the Messiah. As you can see, they are clearly believe that it could happen at literally any time. Rabbi Kanevsky said that troubles were to be expected. It is the day before the Messiah, he explained. Rabbi Sternbuch agreed, and the end of days, those who fear God will despair, and their hands will loosen from fighting God's war against the sinners. And there will be no one to rely upon except God, he said, adding, we have to bring the Messiah. Rabbi Kanevsky answered that the Messiah should be arriving in the very near future. He quoted the Talmud, Megillah 17b again, saying, in the year after Shemitah, the son of David will come. The year after Shemitah on the Jewish calendar ends this October, so until then the Messianic expectations will be running high in Israel. Interesting there, my friends. So they may be looking at supposedly Armageddon, but I'm not, or Judgment Day. I'm not making any decisions on it if it's going to happen or be set in stone. So just keep that in mind. But at the same time, a geopolitical drama is playing out on the world stage, which may eventually result in the Great War coming to the land. If the UN Security Council does decide to pass a resolution permanently dividing the land, that is going to cause tensions in the region to go through the roof. In the Bible, we are told that Israel will be playing a central role in the events of the last days. That is definitely shaping up to be the case. In a recent episode of our television show, my wife and I discussed this extensively. Even though the land of Israel is only about the size of New Jersey, and even though only a tiny fraction of the global population lives there, the attention of the rest of the planet is constantly focused on it. Unfortunately for the United States, the Obama administration has chosen the path that is radically anti-Israel, and that's going to end up having serious implications for all of us. So this is like an interesting viewpoint, okay? You have to really doesn't matter what your belief system is, but it's very interesting what Snyder has to say. Because he's a Bible scholar, and you can't crucify the man for it, but you have to always look at the bigger picture, my friends. Is this another New World Order platform that's trying to make Jerusalem the epic center of world government? It is possible. There's a lot of claims and prophecies on that as well. You got to look it up yourself. So I'm not trying to preach the word or anything like that, but just giving you the information to make you folks think about this, prepare ourselves. This is just another stepping stone for that one world order, or maybe time to tribulation. However, I'm not saying it's set in stone, but we have to always, like I said before, pay attention, and I digress. But definitely, it's interesting too because who created Israel? Who voted in the United Nations? So they're like technically, Israel was under the hands of the United Nations. So it looks like they own it's like how I see this new nation, okay, owes them a favor. That's how I look at this synopsis of my view. And I say this out of respect. I'm not going to go Israel bashing by any means. Yes, I'm critical with the prime minister and the criminal elements in the government, not the people themselves. And we know this for a fact. Even the Palestinians and the Israelis are sick of seeing bloodshed within their regions because they're neighbors and they want to live in peace. Remember, a lot of them are Semites. The true Israeli, the organic Israelis have been there for a long time, and the Middle Eastern in the, groups in there as well, including the Palestinians and so forth. They are Semites, regardless of what you think. Middle Eastern descent and all that. They are Semites. So it goes one way, it goes both. If you're anti-Semitic, you just got to say the hell with the Middle East in general, Middle Eastern folks in general. So this is really, I'm just have to really just, like I say, let that sink in and make your own decision. If you don't believe it, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you this because you have to always. I like to see people actually contemplate for themselves. A lot of stuff is happening, my friends, especially with the one world order. They are a bunch of desperate, hungry wolves, man. They are ready to devour, but they are running out of time and space. I can say that in good faith, especially the spiritual awakening. And people are not, the majority is not really seeing it, but a great handful is, which is good because I've been out there talking to folks. And a lot of them thought I was crazy at first. Then they realized, hey, you're right, man. And they thank me, including my brothers, on what's going on. But this whole scenario, with the Hasidics, because if they check into the Hasidics and the Zionists, there's a big division in that as well, because people don't realize that Judaism and Zionism are two separate movements. And one's a creed, Judaism is a creed, and Zionism is a movement, which was claimed started by the Rothschilds. Well, that's a separate entity, and that's a secular movement. But I recommend you folks go to JewsAgainstZionism.com, and you can really see that for yourselves. But pray for the people out there, regardless, from all ends of the Middle East. People want to see true peace, security, spiritual prosperity, including myself. And the UN sticking their nose don't belong is very scary. And in addition, too, it's like, saying giving the Texas back to Mexico, like saying give half a turkey back to Armenia, right? Hey, think about that, man. So like I said, my friends, just be ready, pay attention, stay focused, and spread the word. All right. Okay, next one here. Found this about yesterday. Came from the Intercept. And it says here, email privacy bill passes House unanimously. The House voted unanimously 419-0 on Wednesday to bring the law that protects privacy of Americans' emails in the 21st century. The Email Privacy Act would reform the 1986 Email Communications Privacy Act by requiring all federal agencies, with a few exceptions, to get a warrant before searching old digital communications stored in a cloud by companies like Google and Facebook. In 1986, the assumption was that if you left your email on the server, it was abandoned like trash or on a street corner, said Representative Kevin Yoder, Republican from Kansas, one of the bill's authors during a GOP press conference Wednesday morning. He said restores the Fourth Amendment and treats emails with the same protections as papers and mail. He's right, because technically it's considered effects. All right, so if you were to look at effects, EFFECTS, okay, it tells you it means access for property. You can look it up yourselves. All right. Technology companies and privacy advocates are likely immediately took to a Twitterverse to celebrate because the bill would protect innovation in cloud computing just as much as it would protect the Fourth Amendment. Now they're urging the Senate to take action. And all you folks out there, do it. Pressure the Senate on read the bill. If you support it, share it to everyone else. There should be links on here as well on this. I have checked it out. So let's see what bill is it to be exact. What bill number? It's HR 699. Okay, that's the name of the bill. Jared Powell, the Second District of Colorado's House. So ACLU supported. So it's very fantastic. Things are happening. So that's that link for it. But definitely spread that out and put pressure on your Senate. Make sure, tell them, make it happen. Don't complain. If they don't like it, tell them to stick it. Plain and simple. All right, next one here came from the New American. New study, higher CO2, which is carbon dioxide levels, promote leaf growth. A new study entitled Greening the Earth and Its Drivers, published online in the Nature Journal Climate Change on April 25th, shows an increase in greening, greater leaf area, over 25 to 50% of the Earth's vegetated area with CO2. Fertilization explaining 70% of the observed greening trends. The study was conducted by 32 authors from 24 institutions in 8 countries and was reported by BBC News after its leads author, Professor Ragnar Maineni from Boston University, spoke with the British news organ. BBC News noted it is a report about greening the Earth and its drivers. It is based on the data, the MODIS and AVHRR instruments, which have been a carrier on American satellites over the past 33 years. The sensors show significant greening of something between 25% and 50% of the Earth's vegetated land, which in turn is slowing the pace of climate change as the plants are drawing CO2 from the atmosphere. The greening reported in the study has the ability to fundamentally change the cycling of water and carbon in the climate system. BBC noted, quoted, another lead author of the study, Dr. Ziyechun Zhou from Peking University, Beijing, China, as saying, the study seems to validate the point made by those who have touted the benefits of increased CO2 in the Earth's atmosphere, including so-called global warming skeptics. Its authors have not necessarily embraced that viewpoint. BBC reported that Maineni still maintains that the extra tree growth would not compensate for global warming, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and ocean acidification, the loss of Arctic sea ice, and the predictions for more severe tropical storms. Another study co-author, Dr. Philippe Siadis, from the Laboratory of Climate and Environmental Science in Yvette, France, was also an Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, author, has minimized the study's obvious implications. That rising CO2 levels are beneficial, telling BBC the fallacy of the contrarian argument is in twofold. First, that many negative aspects of climate change are not acknowledged. Second, studies have shown that the plants acclimatize to rising CO2 concentration and the fertilization effects diminishes over time. However, the news article did quote an opposing opinion from Nick Lewis, an independent scientist who is often critical of the IPCC, who told BBC News the magnitude of the increase in vegetation appears to be considerably larger than suggested by previous studies. This suggests all that projected atmospheric CO2 levels in the IPCC scenarios are significantly too high, which implies that global temperature rises projected by IPCC models are also too high, even if the climate is as sensitive to CO2 increases as the models imply. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, is a UN agency set up by 2 organizations, the World Meteorological Organization and the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, as was noted in the New American on April 8th. There's a link for that too. There is, of course, a great deal of fraud in the climate debate. All of it so far on an alarmist side. The New American has spoken to dozens of prestigious scientists, including many who resigned in disgust from the pseudo-scientific UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, who have expressed such concerns. The ClimateGate email leaks and the widespread data manipulation by the government agencies, according to scientists, is just the tip of the iceberg. When it comes to fraud being employed to demonize CO2, attack what remains of the free market, empower the UN, and now to persecute those who expose the climate code and its inaccurate claims by abusing the justice system. BBC also quoted Professor Judith Curry, the former chair of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the Georgia Institute of Technology, who said it is inappropriate to dismiss the arguments of the so-called Cartarians since their disagreement with the consensus reflects conflicts of values and a preference for the empirical, i.e., what has been observed, versus the hypothetical, i.e., what is projected from climate models. These disagreements are at the heart of the public debate on climate change, and these issues should be debated, not dismissed. Curry was one of several environmental scientists profiled in an article posted by the New American last January entitled Meet the Climate Realist. That article noted Curry's research in 2005, the intensity of tropical storms and hurricanes related to global warming earned her a prominent place among climate scientists. Related Van Jensen in the Georgia Tech Alumni Magazine. But when the 2009 Climategate email scandal hit, revealing correspondence between UN researchers that suggested fraudulent reporting of data to favor their political agenda, Curry said she saw it as a threat to the IPCC and all of the climate science, largely because of this trust issue. Curry lost her place of the IPCC clique, wrote Jensen. Suddenly, her opinions were called unconstructive, full of factual misstatements, and completely at odds with her previous position on global warming. Yet Curry maintains her belief in the warming effect of human-generated carbon dioxide. What keeps her blacklisted is that she disputes the obsessive focus on one atmospheric gas as the main driver of climate variability, while she told Jensen that her goal is to bring together the polarized sides of climate debate and return science's focus to thorough research. It is likely the IPCC will continue ignoring her as a disloyal provocateur. The New American has published numerous articles about the climate change global warming debate. Many of these have cited the views of scientists who believe that higher levels of CO2 are beneficial, not the source of countless glooms and doom scenarios such as the melting of the polar ice caps and rising sea levels that threaten to flood the world's coastal areas. One such article last January reported statements provided by scientist Robert Carter, former chief of the School of Earth Sciences at Australia's internationally renowned James Cook University, made during the Heartland Institute's Day of Examining Data conference held in Paris last December. In an interview with the New American, after his presentation, Carter made a statement that supported the findings of the newly released Greening of the Earth and its drivers. The study, CO2 added to the atmosphere in the recent decades, has been responsible for the tremendous greening of the planet. That is a huge environmental benefit, he said, adding that much of the greening had occurred along arid areas such as the Sahara Desert. If you talk to most scientists, they will acknowledge that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant, explained Dr. Carter. Indeed, it's grotesque to call it a pollutant. It is an abuse of logic, it's an abuse of language, it's an abuse of science. Carbon dioxide is literally the stuff for life. Thank you very much. I do have to say that for a fact because they try to dumb us down, say carbon dioxide is bad. The plants breathe it, the trees breathe it, and they give us oxygen. Get your facts straight. I'm tired of this dumbed down rhetoric from these so-called environmentalist quacks. Ruining the earth, polluting the earth is an issue. I'm not going to argue about that. But you're going to use it. Many of them just use it for their own personal benefit. A la Al Gore. Hey, I remember when Al Gore was at down at the Meisner Park amphitheater. He's on November 14, 2009. That was on a Saturday night, to be exact. And I went down there, blasted him, and tell everyone he's nothing more just another bend over Bob to the New World Order. He don't really care about the working class people, and he's lying about the environment. So and what happened when this came out? The rest of his tour canceled. Wow! So all those people, when I ask them, you drinking the Kool-Aid, probably say that crazy bearded SOB was right. Interesting, yeah. So but Mother Nature is a lot more complex than what we think, my friends. And I've been, you gotta start doing your own homework. Don't rely on the idiot tube or some some charlatan is going to tell you something, okay? It's like, it has happening a lot. Cannot get brainwashed by these folks. You got to start thinking for yourselves. I know many of my listeners are doing that, and I appreciate it. But the whole thing is, it's greener. It's great. Hey, you want to cool your city down? Put grass on top of your roof. They did it in Chicago. I think in Chicago they did that. And it was like 20 degrees cooler on the roof themselves. There you go. We need to keep it greener. We want to make it cooler for the earth and for ourselves and for our environment. So definitely, man, this is nice. Good article. And keep it persistent, my friends. Plant a tree and grow marijuana. No victim, no crime. All right. And remember, CO2 is not a pollutant. You tell those yahoos that. All right. Finally, here's some good news about feet.org. Came out yesterday. It's by Jason Sneed. It's entitled Nebraska Abolishes Civil Forfeiture. Nebraska Governor Pete Pickus, a Republican, has signed a major state forfeiture bill into law. Like New Mexico before it, the Cornhusker state now requires a criminal conviction before property can be forfeited. Bravo. Civil forfeiture is a law enforcement tool which allows property suspected of being involved in or derived from criminal activity to be seized by police, sheriffs, and federal agents. It was ramped up in the 1980s as a means of combating the drug trade and organized crime with the goal of stripping kingpin of their assets and ill-gotten gains. Yep, and that's no more than a wet dream. 30 years later, though, forfeiture has morphed into a system that's far more often used to seize relatively small amounts of cash that stacks the deck against property owners fighting to get it back, and that encourages profiteering by law enforcement authorities. Now that the Nebraska bill has signed into law, innocent property owners will have some rather significant new protections, the most significant of which is requirement for the criminal conviction. Believe it or not, under civil forfeiture laws, no convictions need to be obtained, nor even any charge filed to permanently forfeit property. Nebraska's decision to require conviction essentially eliminates civil forfeiture in the state. The state may still forfeit property, but only after obtaining a conviction, drug, child pornography, or illegal gambling charges. And then only after demonstrating by clear and convincing evidence that property in question was used or intended to be used in the commission of the crime, or that represented the illicit fruits of the criminal activity. So the whole thing is they have to have merit to be conviction under due process. And I'm very, very pleased to hear that, and I haven't really finished it yet, but I am very proud on what the states are doing, because the whole thing is states' rights is essential. I'm very happy to see this going on, and I'm going to see here. But so I'm very, very impressed by this due process of law. That's the name of it. So yeah, I am going to add on a due process of law, which is Article 1, Section 3 of their state constitution. That's going to be added. I'm going to continue on here. Nebraska's unicameral legislature, the only one of its kind in the nation, passed the bill by a wide margin, reflecting a widespread and bipartisan recognition that forfeiture laws have strayed from their original, narrow, and laudable purpose. Indeed, in recent years, countless stories have emerged of innocent people whose property has been seized based on little, if any, actual evidence. So there's always been this kind of sort of assumption. So that's been striked out. Nebraska is no stranger to this phenomenon. Take Mark Rucker, for example. The Air Force veteran had $63,530 seized after he was pulled over for changing lanes without signaling. After a drug-sniffing canine alerted to possible narcotics, the sheriff's deputy conducted a search and found the cash, but no drugs. Where's the warrant? Brewer told the officer that he was on his way to Los Angeles where he intended to make a down payment on the house, but the deputy seized the money anyway. Mr. Brewer should always have the right to remain silent. None of your damn business. None of his damn business. Brewer took his fight to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals that ruled that circumstantial evidence like the fact that money was being carried in a plastic bag near 2 magazines with marijuana-themed articles was sufficient to tie money into criminal activity. Brewer never saw his $63,530 again. The impact of state-level forfeiture reforms is often blunted thanks to a federal program known as equitable sharing, which allows for property seized by state and local authorities to be transferred to federal agencies for the forfeiture under federal law. Violation of the 10th Amendment, and James Madison, Federalist Papers 46, finds this dangerous as well. Read it for yourselves. I have an archive on that. You can see it just on my archive on this show. I do talk about Federalist Papers 46. State and local agencies that participated can expect to receive up to 8% of the resulting proceeds, every penny of which is beyond control of local or state legislators. With equitable sharing, the federal government is effectively incentivizing agencies to bypass state laws that protect property owners' rights or prevent police, sheriffs, and prosecutors from financing themselves through the forcible seizure of property. Thus, a state could entirely abolish civil forfeiture, and law enforcement agencies can effectively ignore and circumvent state law. Well, I gotta say this: if the federal government gets involved, every sheriff in that county, tell them to get the hell out of my county or my state, or have your behinds arrested. Nebraska law enforcement agencies have received more than $50 million from both the Justice and Treasury Department equitable sharing programs. Can we say bribery? Fortunately, Nebraska's legislature wisely restricted that practice. The new law bans property transfers unless seized cash or property exceeds $25,000 in value. A federal agent is physically presented for the seizure, or the person from whom the money or the property was seized is a subject of a federal prosecution. But while the bill clamped on the equitable sharing loophole, it did nothing to address the financial incentive that still exists in Nebraska seized property. Article 7, Section 5 of the Nebraska Constitution mandates that 50% of all forfeited money be allocated to law enforcement agencies, with a reminder going to fund public education. Unfortunately, with the profit incentive enshrined in the state constitution, only a constitutional amendment can put forfeiture revenues back where it belongs in the state's general fund under the control of the state legislature. Perhaps such an amendment will one day be passed. In the meantime, Nebraskans are the beneficiary of far more legal protections against abusive and unjust property seizures than most Americans. So technically, it's a great start. We got to push it again and again and again. I could thank Governor Ricketts for this, and like it says here, Article 1, Section 3, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor be denied equal protection of the laws. That's Article 1, Section 3 of the Nebraska Constitution. So I am happy about that. They still need to push more 10th Amendment actions against the federal government. That's why I support ending the drug prohibition, and I'm not a drug addict by any means. Because if you study about the 20s about the prohibition of alcohol, it didn't accomplish anything. It benefited organized crime and corrupt governments. Let's end this once and for all. But the Cornhusker State is in a great start. I know the state of Florida has something similar, so it's getting better little by little. I say no victim, no crime. And as far as I'm concerned, these bastards, whoever's getting involved, should be charged for extortion, or racketeering, or RICO. Give them a taste of their own medicine. It's totally unacceptable. So how I see it, I am happy, but Nebraska and the rest of the nation, the rest of the state within this nation, has to make it better for everybody. And that is it, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this information throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, compliments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, or you want to send me something that's pretty cool or interesting I haven't checked out yet, or can be used for my show. However, please send your correspondences with decorum, which people are doing, and I really appreciate it. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Freedom Network, and Scene.life. Or you can email me at lookyourluck3@gmail.com. Before I sign off, I want to do a little quote here, which always find myself, very interesting here. I always find myself, I'm not a big John Lennon fan. John Lennon's got some cool things, but it's a good little quote he did. It says here, being honest might not get you a lot of friends, but will always get you the right ones. And I posted on my Facebook page. I can really relate to that. I've always been like you say again, a drifter, a loner, and so forth. However, there's people out there that I'm pretty open to that deserve it, so, and that's, I'm going to play a song by Stuck Mojo. This time it was when Lord Nelson was in it from the Great Rivals called Friends. Cool little song, like a, hip hop, rock band, metal band, from Atlanta, Georgia. And sometimes I just, always had that safeguarding nature. I don't really get too friendly with a lot of folks, but many of them who know who I am understand me, where I'm coming from, and I still chat with them today. There's even times I haven't seen them in years. We still talk, think about these folks, and some of the new people that want to get together with me, pick my brain and so forth. And there's times that maybe a little too charming, with no intent to hurt, but things do happen. Sometimes you get caught in their own drama without really realizing it till later on. However, I always find a way of ironing it out, and they understand me a lot better. And I thank for those beautiful individuals out there. They know who they are. And so it makes me feel good, times when I try to do things nice, I'm not there to score. If I go see the ladies out there, I'm not there to score. I'm just here to be nice, have a good time, and just mingle. And that's how I feel. And, sometimes I think about some of the people who I like to see more. But hopefully that will happen. All out of friendship and homage. And that's really for it, to be honest. And I thank you for hearing this last rant. I do talk too much at times. Sometimes some folks assume I'm talking to myself. That's okay. That's part of the show, my friends. I could take it anywhere I want with my podcast. That's what's great about it. All right. But once again, I thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you. Enjoy the song.
Your back and you've got mine. Together we shine, divine, combined as one. Yeah, bright like the sun. Your joy is my joy, your pain is my pain. Your loss is my loss, your gain is my gain. Nothing compares to a friend who is there through thick and thin from start to end.
I wanna thank you for all the things you do for me. You're the one friend I can lean on. You know when times get tough for you, you can call me like family. We're stronger together, best friends forever.
Sometimes when the world drives me crazy, you're there to save me. You're my best friend. Every day's I need for you to pray for me. So be praying for me to be my best friend. I got friends and you got friends, but my friends keep it real to the very end. And I do the same for them, no matter the situation. I'm down for whatever. I ride for them, drive for them, live and die for them. Tell the truth or even lie for them. Whatever they need, they get it indeed. Cause when I succeed, they succeed. Believe, I love it when they truth me up. Cause when I'm wrong, they tell it they don't boost me up. They let it be known and let it be shown. No actors, friends from business, suits to backpackers. From Cali to South Carolina.